Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our Economic Development, Tourism, and Special Events Advisory Committee. Today's December 5th. It's a new day for our committee, and we'd like to ask if there's any disclosure of pecuniary interests. Seeing none, consider that closed. May I have an approval of the agenda for the December 5th meeting? Okay. Zach and Brent? That's carried. Thank you. And the minutes of our last meeting was August 3rd. Can I have a mover and a seconder for that, please? Rosie, Joanna? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. No correspondence. Now we're moving on to items for committee's consideration, and the first staff report is 23025 from Linda Lyle, please. And Elizabeth Edwards will also follow up.
Thank you, Chair Kotsovas. So in terms of the staff report, which is proposed changes to the Front Street Farmers Market operations, I do have some slides just referencing some of the highlights from the report. So in terms of market feedback, throughout the market season, feedback was collected in regards to how to improve the delivery model of the market. So the Front Street Farmers Market Subcommittee met on various occasions throughout the season and had discussions on what changes could be made to improve the market experience for market goers. So this season, while the market was run status quo, some new activities took place based on recommendations from the subcommittee. Some of the highlights from the season included one of the recommendations was to serve hot food at the market. So one of our vendors was able to serve breakfast sandwiches, hot dogs, and burgers at the Saturday market from August till the end of the season. So we're grateful that Hickory Hill Farms took this opportunity to serve hot food at the market, and it was very well received. During Doors Open, which was September 16th, the ECDev and tourism team included activities for kids while parents shopped. We were listed as a stop on Doors Open, and it was a great opportunity to engage the community and create some programming to make it more of a family-friendly, fun experience. It was very well received, and we had a lot of pedestrian traffic through the market that day. And then lastly, in terms of some of the additional promotion that we did for the market this year is Lot 48 Film Co. was retained to create a farmers market promotional video. So it was shared on social media. It is also on our website, and it gives a great look at kind of what the market experience looks like, speaks to some of the vendors and the products available at the market. I'm not 100% sure if this video will work, but I'm happy to reference the website. Oh, I think it will work. Yes.
In the heart of downtown Trenton, nestled along the scenic Trent-Severn Waterway, lies a hidden gem that celebrates the best of local produce, crafts, and community. Welcome to the Quinte West Front Street Farmers Market. Every Wednesday and Saturday from May to October, the market comes alive with a bustling atmosphere and a vibrant energy that's hard to resist. Whether you're a foodie, an art enthusiast, or simply looking for a unique experience, the Front Street Farmers Market has something special for everyone. Step into a world of flavors as you explore the wide variety of artisanal and produce vendors. From juicy, locally grown fruits and vegetables to handcrafted treasures and unique creations, there's no shortage of amazing finds at every turn. It's not just about shopping, it's about connecting with the community. The Front Street Farmers Market is a place where neighbors become friends and vendors become family. It's a gathering spot where conversations flow freely and laughter fills the air. But the Front Street Farmers Market is more than just a place to buy groceries or unique gifts. It's a platform that supports local farmers, artisans, and entrepreneurs, providing them with an opportunity to showcase their talents and share their passion with the community. So, whether you're a regular visitor or a first-time guest, come and experience the magic of the Front Street Farmers Market. Let the sense of fresh produce, the sounds of laughter, and the sights of talented artisans captivate your senses. Join us every Wednesday and Saturday from May to October, from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. at 67 Front Street. The Front Street Farmers Market is not just a market. It's a vibrant community gathering that celebrates the richness of local talent and the joy of connecting with others. See you there.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that, Tessa. And just back to the presentation. So those were some recommendations that came out of the Front Street Farmers Market Subcommittee this year, and they were quick wins that we were able to enact in the market, and we saw some really great response from them in terms of engaging the community. But the subcommittee also had recommendations for how we're going to improve the market going forward. So once we get that slideshow back up, I'll be able to speak to what some of those recommendations were. So some of the proposed changes based on a strategic planning session, the feasibility study, and the vendor survey, that the subcommittee is recommending the proposed changes. So the first one is removing the Wednesday market so that we can prioritize the Saturday market date. The second one is changing the market hours from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. to 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And changing the opening of the season and ending of the season to Victoria Day to Thanksgiving weekend. And then also exploring a collaborative partnership model with the Trenton DBIA to deliver the market for the 2024 season. So these were further defined in the report, and happy to answer any questions on them. But lastly, we would also like to explore other potential operators through a request for proposal process to determine the best fit to deliver the market for 2025 and onward. And that's something that we would start working on next year during the 2024 market season.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Are there any questions? My one question would be, are we able to reuse that video if we just get someone else to narrate it because of the Wednesday and the time change?
Absolutely. I'm happy to reach back out to Lot 48 and we can have some edits made because they did an excellent job on the video and captured some really great visuals. And I think we should be able to use it again and again with updates to the information.
Good. Thank you. Yes, Zach?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for all of your work on this working group, Elizabeth. Phil's report especially was, I think, guided a lot of the discussion and gave us a lot of good feedback and kind of action points and action ideas. And I agree wholeheartedly with the recommendations that have come out, and I think that they will be, for the most part, well received by the vendors. And some of the important points to pivot for the next season: the interactive programming, different forms of entertainment, all ages, as kind of different age group target markets. Also, the hot food was a great success, the breakfast sandwiches, and possibly widening those offerings a bit and possibly bringing in some rotating vendors. And integration with the downtown businesses, with Grind and Vine specifically, was noted by Phil with the kind of patio area there and some other possibilities leveraging Taylor's entertainment and maker relationships. But the DBIA, I think, is a natural fit. I didn't actually realize that as municipalities have slowly given up operations of their farmers market, the BIAs actually have stepped in a lot of places. That is one of the more common situations. So with DBIA's location downtown, and many synergies can be provided, especially with the integration of the businesses. I think that it makes sense to have a kind of a trial integration for the year, and then a more formal process next year, RFP. Thanks.
Irene, I see your hand's up. Are you able to put your screen on while you ask your question?
Yeah, I don't have a.
Irene, you're muted. Okay, her hand's down. Does anyone else have any questions regarding the report?
Oh, sorry. Are you okay to hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
I don't know why it muted itself, but anyway, the point I was making is I spoke to several vendors that used to be at the market. And one of the things they had commented on was when COVID came, obviously, and we shut down. But after that, they weren't allowed to give out samples. So one of the things that maybe we can reinstitute if we can do it is to have samples again from the vendors.
Thank you. You've noted that? Thank you.
Yeah, that was actually a recommendation that came from Philip Powell as well. And that's definitely something that we can encourage our vendors to do. So I think it's a great suggestion.
Well, then how do we get it out there to vendors that are no longer participating with us? How do we let them know? Do we have a list of vendors that were at the market prior to COVID rather?
Yes. And so when we open up applications for vendors for the 2024 season, whomever applies will list their contact information, and that will become our new contact list of how we reach out to our vendors.
Okay, but do you have one from past years prior to COVID? Do you have a list?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so that was the point I was making. How much is a stall again?
So it is $20 a market, or it is $180 for the full season.
Okay, all right. Thanks so much for that info.
Thank you.
Zach, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just wanted to note also, just for some further background for some of the public members and any folks watching, that I think that this is a good time, kind of in a macro sense, to make this kind of governance change, in that the organization that would ultimately, hopefully, be selected as a partner to run it. We've spoke a bit about the marketing materials and the branding possibly being due for a refresh. And as more and more wonderful businesses move into the downtown core, many on Front Street with the counter, and of course Grind and Vine and These Four Walls and all these great places, Rollin' Oats, and the CIP program that came to last council for the beautiful condos that are going above on the west side of Front Street. I think that it makes sense for a kind of a fresh new start for whoever's selected through the RFP process to kind of put a new spin on it and freshen up the market while staying true to the principles of having a community space for our local farmers to come and sell their wares, but also kind of pivot to some new target demographics. And yeah, I think there's almost unlimited potential, although it was noted that this was a hard year for many markets and many locations. A little bit of a post-COVID, everyone came out in 2022, it seemed like, after being cooped up for a couple of summers, but there was a little bit of a drop-off everywhere. So hopefully 24 would come back stronger. Thank you.
Moving on, thank you. The next staff report, 23027, is from Jennifer Rushlow, please. And Shannon Miller will help as well.
No.
No, she's not here today.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I will be giving a bit of an update for the 2023 Summer Pop-Ups program. No, back up. Back. Mm-hmm. Thank you. The Quinte West pop-ups opened in summer of 2021 in Centennial Park with 3 sheds and several food trucks. In 2022, significant renovations to the park were completed, and the site has grown to include 8 sheds, 5 of which are equipped with sinks for food vendors. The pop-ups area also has the capacity to host 3 or 4 food trucks on site. The pop-up season this year went from May 31st to September 3rd, from Wednesdays to Sundays, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. There was 1 full-time food truck, and 2 other food trucks came intermittently through the season. There were 5 food vendors in the sheds and 13 rotating retail vendors. Beyond providing an enhancement to Centennial Park, the ideas of the pop-ups is to support local entrepreneurs and encourage small business growth to potentially move them to a storefront location. Examples of this that have actually happened are Roland Oats, which had a pop-up in 2021 and opened a storefront that fall. Now it has moved to a larger location in downtown Trenton. Benji's, which was a vendor in our program this past summer, has opened a beautiful cafe in downtown Belleville. And in the works is another vendor from this year who's anticipating opening their downtown Trenton location this spring. All good news stories. You can change slide. The pop-up site has impressive landscaping, floral troughs, picnic tables with umbrellas, and a pathway that leads through the pop-ups and connects to the waterfront trail. This year, the site also featured Muskoka chairs from the I Heart Quinte West project, and it became a site for our Art on the Trend installation. I don't think anybody can argue how beautiful the site is down in Centennial Park. Programming included live and DJ'd music, face painting, a sweet treats week with an incentive draw prize, Feel Good Fridays with not-for-profit service groups, and laser tag. A variety of large games were purchased for passive play at the pop-ups. These games were offered when a tourism ambassador or staff was scheduled on site. This shed acted like a visitor center as well. The idea will be to utilize the shed next year and staff it with a student as much as possible to assist in adding full-time access to the games and providing information to patrons. Promotional efforts included dedicated Facebook and Instagram accounts with 1,932 followers respectively, pop-up street banners, large posters in kiosks, and smaller posters in high-traffic areas like grocery stores and dry cleaners, like laundromats. Radio advertising campaign on both local radio stations was developed. Regular print advertising in the Quinte West page and the Trentonian and Community Press. We had promotion in the Quinte West Discovery Guide and a series of rack cards that were handed out at various events. Within our feedback sessions with the vendors, some areas of improvement included increased promotion and programming. Some tactics we plan to implement include tagging the vendors more often on social media and offering some training and tips for vendors who would like it. Some are very good at their marketing and others need a little bit more help and would like to learn more. We will provide an information package to keep vendors informed of events within the park, and the city in general need to know information. Additional directional signage leading into the park is also on a wish list that we have. And in terms of programming, providing on-site student staffing will enable those interactive games to be offered more frequently. The idea is to provide a schedule of theme weeks so we can match opportunities with community groups to assist in offering programming, and this will also provide them with exposure with a win-win situation. Another criticism of the public, as reported by vendors, was the lack of facilities in the area, like specific area to the pop-ups, and specifically hand washing. Although the canteen is open for vendor use, only a porta potty is currently provided for the public. And in terms of a financial impact, the pop-ups program costs were within the projected budget this year. I'm open to any questions.
Any questions? Dunk?
Have you considered selling swag at that tourism or the
That's a great idea.
hats, shirts? Because, a lot of people, visitors, whatever.
And Bay of Quinte also has stuff like that, so that's another opportunity that could be sold as well. But
Just a thought.
Quinte West, yeah.
Postcards, whatever.
Joanna?
The suggestion was, washing facilities, is it possible to put something there other than the porta potty?
I do know at special events that you can rent hand washing stations, and it's just a matter of keeping them upgraded and monitored. And so, something like that might be an option. But right now we aren't planning on opening that canteen to the public. There's just too much vandalism and that kind of thing that goes on, so we keep it just for the vendors so that it's a clean space for them.
Yeah, that's too bad because I thought that was a very good idea, especially when you're eating things and that sort of thing.
The thing was just sticky. When it gets hot, it's pretty sticky, and the ice cream melts super fast.
Yeah.
So,
Were you happy with the attendance last year?
it's hard to say. I mean, it's very dependent on weather and heat even. We did have a lot of smoke issues last summer, if you recall. So attendance was maybe down. It's hard to say because our vendors turn over and they're never the same, right? So to get a good grip on that, I would say we could improve with increased promotion. There are still a lot of people who say they don't know that it's there. So with just those type of anecdotal information, I know we have some work to do on attracting people. It is a very difficult, when I say what our hours were and what our days were, there's a lot of kind of discussion around what hours would be good and what days of the week would be better, but the vendors are all different too and have different needs. So for example, when the soccer game is on, it would be great to have or soccer practice, it goes on till probably 8 o'clock where all our vendors close at 7. But then those retail vendors that were there that probably wouldn't appeal to more of a soccer crowd have been there since 11 o'clock. So it's a very interesting, fine game to play and what would be the best for everybody.
Do you have any issues with getting vendors?
Yeah, small businesses, it's hard to get some of them. They do have some interest in the beginning, but sometimes they fall off or don't find. We did have one vendor that actually pulled out within 2 days because of their product and what they had wasn't selling. But then again, they probably weren't advertising it and putting themselves out there well enough. So again, that's working with them and really finding out in advance how you can service them and maybe working a little bit more together with them on how to market themselves.
I thought that the 1st of December was a very good idea. Unfortunately, the weather did not cooperate this year for a lot of the activities. I was very sad to see that, actually, because I thought that was a great idea.
Yes.
But anyway, maybe next year we'll have a better, have a nice sunny day.
Weather is always a challenge, even in the summer, so you never can tell.
Thanks.
Hand up again.
Yes, go ahead, Irene.
How much does it cost for a pop-up, for a location in there?
For the 3 months, it is $800 for season. And for a 2-week period, we do like to have rotating vendors because it kind of turns things over. It's $200 for 2 weeks.
All right, have you thought about cross-promotion with the market? So having the information about the pop-ups at the market and maybe entice some of the market people to go to the pop-ups as well? So cross-promotions work very well, and especially in a situation like this.
Well, our materials are available at the market, like our promotional materials are available, but that's not something that we've talked to all the vendors about, so maybe that's happening passively. One thing that was identified at the pop-ups was they would like to know more about what's going on in the area and event-wise kind of sooner rather than later. So that is definitely something that, we've kind of made them aware of, and they're familiar with all of our products in terms of the Discovery Guide and what's in it. But I think we could do a better job of kind of making maybe that part of a package that every vendor gets and is expected to read ahead of time and that kind of thing. So good point.
The other point is, and I made this, I think, at the very beginning of time when I joined this organization or this economic advisory board, was we really have to work with the schools in the area. How are you going to get families? Well, you get the choirs over to pop-ups. You get the choirs over to the market. And with that, I mean, if you have 10 or 12 kids in a choir, what are you going to have? 24 adults coming to see their kids sing, more than likely. So I think we're still missing an opportunity to work closely with the school boards in the area. I mean, there's only, 5 schools, if we're lucky, in Quinte West? Could be wrong. But I think that's an opportunity that we really have to explore a lot more in depth. And that doesn't cost anything. What it requires is people making phone calls to the schools and seeing if, in fact, they do have choirs.
That may work
Required, right?
for June. I know schools are let out in June, and June is a really busy month for schools. They don't like to, beyond their little trips that they coordinate, go very far, but definitely something that we can look into and see how we can even just promote and send out a notification to the parents through the school board that there will be activities in the summertime, like the face painting and the laser tag, for example. And if we know in advance when those are, that would be a great form of marketing for sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Zach.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think, yeah, the crossover promotion is an interesting idea. There's probably some crossover in the customer bases between the two, so that probably makes sense. I just had a question for Jen, and then some follow-up. For the washrooms, would it be possible, I noticed in the budget book that there's a like keyless entry remote timer that's being put in the Frankfurt Tourist RV Park with the at the washroom there to kind of control those vandalism concerns. Is something like that possible? And if not, I was going to say, if we rent the porta potties, could it be possible to rent wash basins too, if it's like a big thing for customers?
Yeah, I think the wash basins might be possible. I think it would just be a matter of maintaining them and making sure that they were kept clean and full at different times. So I guess maybe a consistent check-in of those. The actual canteen is run on a key, like a swipe card access, and so that's what's given to vendors. So having that just propped open or open all the time would be a challenge maybe. And I know some of the vendors actually have in the past stored some of their stuff in there, so it's a security issue too. So that's not within our I guess scope of with the pop-ups. It's more of a facility question. But yeah, we can definitely maybe look at the rental of wash stations and see how that works.
Is it the city staff that's doing kind of the maintenance and upkeep on them, or is that the company that we're renting them from, the porta potties?
The porta potties are definitely the company that we rent them
Okay.
from.
I imagine they probably fill the basins too and would look after that, so I guess that would be...
Yeah, it's different for like one event, and it's kind of but on an ongoing basis, we haven't never really done that before.
Okay. And then my second point, we had kind of a good conversation at the last ECDev meeting about some of the kind of more of a Parks and Rec conversation about some of the possibilities for utilizing space in Centennial Park there. And I think that there's tremendous potential down there as well to kind of drive some of those families, programming activities. We talked about beach volleyball, disc golf, and all sorts of things. I think there's tremendous possibilities for the pop-ups down there. I kind of put my business cap on and think that a good kind of rough metric would be the amount of re-sign-ups that we get, kind of the success of the vendors. If if a lot of vendors, if we're seeing a high sign-up rate for the next year, but then that's even not completely accurate, because if they're very successful, they move into a brick and mortar store too. So I guess different folks leaving for different reasons. But yeah, I see Centennial Park as tremendous possibilities, and it is beautiful. The facility down there, I've certainly invested a lot, and I would like to kind of build on that and see it grow over the next few years with some parks and development master plan identified projects too. I think it'll be good.
We did have 2 of the retail vendors express their interest already in coming in being a seasonal vendor, so there has been some success that way. And
Yes, Suzanne?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Jennifer. I'm just wondering, I mean, really all you need down there is an outside water tap that we've all washed hands. I mean, could the city not look at, the plumbing is already there into the canteen building. Could there not just be some sort of a wash station where people can fill up water bottles, where they can fill up a dish for their dog, where they can wash their hands, like just rinse them off? Like, I don't think it has to be something major, but just access to some a water tap on the outside of the building, I think would be super useful, and I think a lot cheaper to install than renting a hand wash station for the whole season.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's maybe something to look at in terms of, like, I know there are the 5 sheds that are plumbed in, and obviously they have water, and so they, in the meantime, have been giving out like little towelettes with water, like to wash the kids' hands and stuff like that. But so maybe there is an opportunity to create a bit of a one of those stalls where we have the plumbing going in, something like that. So that's definitely worth investigation.
Dunk?
Don't we already have something like that? The mobile water unit that you could wash your hands there, I think,
The quench buggy.
the Quinte buggy.
Again, I would have to look at that. I think that's primarily for drinking water, but maybe it
there
has a
might be
hand washing station.
Attachments you could put to it at least, but there's something that staff could fill up every day or something like that. Have to be
Right.
locked up for sure somehow, but it's there.
Joanna?
I'm just following on Zach's comment there. Yeah, in the last minutes, we did say that Parks and Rec would be coming to us with their strategic plan or their plan for the season. And I was just wondering when that was going to happen, when they were going to come and actually tell us what their plans are.
It's the master plan.
Master plan.
Jacqueline, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Ms. March. The RFP for the consultant for the Parks and Recreation Master Plan is out on the market right now. It will close later this month, and then we will be moving forward to select the consultant and vendor for that project in the new year. So certainly we'll keep the committee posted on those plans and the timelines once we get that sorted.
Zach?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree completely with Suzanne's comment. At the, I don't, I don't think that it would be terribly obtrusive to do possibly a similar water bottle filling station as is at the farmers market off of the bathroom on the, this would be like facing the east, facing the river there. People, yeah, can obviously wash their hands where you fill up the water bottles pretty easily. So I feel like that's a good idea. Makes sense and probably be significantly cheaper than renting the wash basin. So,
Rosie?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to make a comment to the staff. Having been here last term on this committee when there was nothing there, and just to see the pictures of what we've achieved in 2 short years is pretty darn amazing. And I just wanted to give you kudos for that.
And Irene, did you have something else to add? Your hand was up.
Yeah, just about the porta potties. They all have hand sanitizers inside them. So is it really an issue if there's a hand sanitizer in the porta potty? I don't know.
Do you want me
Through
to
you,
go?
Mr. Chair, it's
Spending
more
more
of
money,
like
I don't know.
sticky hands as opposed to clean hands in a way. A little bit of both maybe,
Well-
but sticky hands is still an issue in that case.
Okay.
If everyone's had a chance. Just a couple of questions. I do like the idea that Suzanne proposed, added with the water. At least they could wash their hands. If they were to have a standalone sanitizer, I know the foam one does work better than the gel. Like the health unit has mentioned that, and that would maybe get some kind of a lather enough for the kids with a combination of water. My one question, when you alluded to the person that was there for 2 days, do they pay for the month and they just chose to only operate for 2 days, or they didn't stick it out for the month?
They were just a 2-week vendor, and their product was a beverage, and it was super hot. There wasn't a lot of traffic on the Wednesday, and I believe they weren't equipped to deal with the staffing costs based on how much money they were bringing in. Mm-hmm. So they elected to leave. They did not get a refund on their $200.
No, I wouldn't think that they would get a refund because they didn't honor a contract. But which led me to think the vendors that honor their contract for the entire month, they show up, they don't close early, they accommodate the city and their customers, that we could possibly give them a bit of a, I don't know how you want to word it or legally how you're allowed to word it, a bonus back. Part of their proceeds or their rent can come back to them because they did honor a contract. And I only say that because we don't have a list of vendors lined up at the door. We're struggling a little bit to fill them. So this way, if it would give them incentive, they know they're going to stay there. That was one thought. And then the soccer practice was a good idea that you mentioned. I was just wondering, I know our contract says they have to be open 11 till 7. I didn't know if the vendors that had the food or beverages, if they had some flexibility perhaps, if they could write the contract that way and they could do it 12 till 8 or.
They can stay open later if they so choose. The idea with them opening later is a little bit of a problem. Like, we are having trouble with consistency and people closing and opening whenever kind of they want and coming and going, which is a problem. So we're trying to, circumvent that by having consistent hours that they have to be there. But they're more than welcome to stay later or open earlier. For example, Canada Day, they were all open till well into the night with the fireworks going on, as well as Festival in the Bay times, and they loved that. They were very successful during those times. So there are options for them that way.
Okay, thank you. And then I know Joanna touched on it there. I had the same question. Unfortunately, the weather was bad in December. Do those vendors, just for an incentive to come back, would they get anything compensation that way? I know we can't control the weather as a city, but just in good faith to maybe entice them to come back.
Actually, I was going to report that in our follow-up report coming up, but I'm happy to announce that our vendors were very happy with this past weekend, regardless of the weather.
Oh, good. Good. Thank you. Zach?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And was this the first year that the Christmas markets, was this the first year?
We did do a Christmas market in 2021, which was during COVID. We only had 3 sheds at the time, and it was in the parking lot of the Pavilion parking lot, which had its challenges. Again, we were plagued with disastrous weather and a very bad windstorm that had come through, very cold temperatures, as well as a very bad ice storm too. So we had actually done it for 3 weekends, and each weekend the weekends got worse as you went weather-wise. So it was a very small group of vendors. We had limited programming because of cost, especially spreading it out over the three weeks. So it wasn't as successful as this past weekend, where we were able to condense it and keep it very programmed and use the budget to have a bigger impact. So yes, this is the first time that we've done a holiday market to that degree.
I think that there are tremendous possibilities with the infrastructure and the sheds and everything. If you're able to, kind of get the message through the communications channels and get the vendors, I say that we should be doing, as many as we can to utilize the space. And I guess if you have the programming, you can kind of almost make events up, or I put them around holidays loosely, I suppose. But I think more opportunities for folks in the community to come out and have a good time, see some programming, do a little shopping is great, and it's so beautiful down there. So.
And there is interest in potentially doing some events down there from clubs too. We haven't investigated that or discussed it yet, but there is interest from community groups to do certain things down there too.
Nice. Thank you.
Okay. Can I have a mover and a seconder to receive the 2 staff reports? Okay, Ed and Joanna, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And moving on to delegations, presentations, updates, please.
So I will kick off this part of the presentation with our updates since the last meeting. So we had the Work in Quinte Career Fair, which was held on September 13th in partnership with the City of Belleville. We had about 50 registered employers and employment service providers there, along with 500 job seekers were in attendance. That is up from, I would say, over the last couple of years, following COVID, with which we've had lower attendance. So we were really happy with those numbers. The businesses were really pleased with the resumes they received as well. We also had the employment service providers provided some activations and confidence building sessions for some of the attendees. We found there was a lot of newcomers to the career fair as well as first-time participants, and really they were uncomfortable and not knowing what to do. So we really built in the employment service providers to really work with the job seekers and making them feel more comfortable and assisting them in that way so they'd be more successful at the career fair. So we'll be coordinating that piece moving forward for the next one, which is April 24th. I think it skipped one, Liz, did it? No, maybe not. Okay. So the staff attended the Best Places to Work Career Expo, which was in Ottawa at the end of September. And it really showcased different employment opportunities in Eastern Ontario. So with that, we were able to promote the Bay of Quinte region, but also, and more importantly, Quinte West from our Economic Development and Tourism. And there was, those in attendance were several high school students, which Loyalist College had their booth right beside ours. And also they were targeting sort of a mid-late career demographic. So it's really working on representing the area and growing our local workforce. Obviously, we know the workforce challenges in the region, but also, you know, through Ontario and through Canada as well nationally. So it's really important to, we felt, be at this show. And we had a meeting yesterday with the Bay of Quinte in terms of the work in Quinte marketing. And we are going to take a look at upcoming job fairs in Ontario and see what opportunities are there to attract workers to the area. And there was about 2,000 attendees at that job fair. On October 18th, Trentville and the QEDC hosted a tour at 8 Wing CFB Trenton to showcase the work happening there, and also showcasing the various career opportunities for both military and civilian positions. So Chris may want to speak a bit more to that, but it was very exciting. We were able to walk on one of the wings of the, I think the CC-150, Chris? Trying to get my aircraft straight. Yeah. Or the 150. We also had an opportunity to go up in the air traffic control tower and actually walk around the outside of it as well. And we're inside several aircraft that day. So they did a fantastic job hosting us, and we look forward to, we had done that several years ago, and it's really exciting to be able to offer that to some of the business organizations and through the QADC members and the Trentville members as well. I know Joanna was there as well and was walking out on the wing of one of the aircraft. It was a really great day. The industrial lands cost review and strategy. So we're working with Watson and Associates. We have a subcommittee set up from this committee, which met on September 18th. We have another meeting coming up on December 11th. So really looking at both private and public lands for opportunities for future developments. We're also doing a target market analysis. They're doing that along with a costing review. So we'll be focused a lot on the costing review portion at the meeting on Monday, as well as providing more information about some of the sites that they've sort of basically prioritized. So we'll be reviewing that at the meeting. Watson and Associates will be coming to the next meeting, which I believe will be in February, to present their findings, and then also we'll be presenting to council following that. The city was successful in receiving RED funding, and the announcement with Minister Smith was held here in downtown Trenton on October 11th. We were successful in receiving $25,000 towards the CIP enhancements for the commercial downtown core in both Frankfurt and Trenton, as well as new tourism CIP, which aligns with our tourism strategy. So it really will focus on signage and physical enhancements to support tourism product development. And as you can see in the picture there, with significant property in downtown Trenton undergoing major renovations, and so that is one of the projects that we are working on with the owner of the property. which will really bring a lot of downtown revitalization along with residential development into the downtown core. Sierra Planning and Management will be reaching out to the stakeholder for consultations early in the new year, and they were awarded the project. I'll pass it over to Jen, who will speak on a couple of the slides.
These images represent the second installation of Art on the Trent. This installation features 16 images of the mosaic tiles that were painted by the public during the Multicultural Day activities at the end of June. These tiles, when combined with others, have created a beautiful mosaic mural that was unveiled in the lobby of City Hall just outside the library on November 15th. And if you haven't seen it yet, please be sure to stop on the way out today, and obviously take your opportunity to go over to the Riverfront Square, the pop-ups area, and Frankfurt Tourist Park to take a look at the mosaic mural tiles up close and personal. Further to the midsummer stats that I reported on August, a final look at the stats collected up until Labor Day showed that in August, visitation from Quebec, Toronto, and the GTA increased. Quinte West local traffic is still accounting for 50% of the traffic at the Chamber, requesting information for themselves, and obviously they're visiting friends and relatives. The materials requested remain similar, with directions being the most sought-after piece of info requested. Many continue to either search out or use the public facilities offered at the Chamber, and of course, general attractions, wineries, and event information was requested. This is just a little bit of a comparison from 2022 to 2023 visitor stats. They are very consistent, with 2023 slightly less in visitation, but it's important to note that these stats are subject to interpretation, as they could have been collected differently from year to year and student to student. So they're pretty similar in kind of follow a trend, I guess. And the materials requested is also follows a similar pattern. Again, maybe that's just reflection of, with the big one there on directions, the slight drop in traffic from this year that was reported. Le Boat provides canal boat rentals throughout Europe and Canada. Le Boat's fleet features a range of boat sizes that can accommodate 2 to 12 passengers and comfortable amenities, including a fully equipped kitchen, private ensuite bathrooms and with showers, top deck with sunshade and barbecue, and so much more. They launched on the Rideau Canal in 2018 with its first base in Smiths Falls, and they now have secondary base in Ottawa. So now they can do one-way travel from Smiths Falls to Ottawa. Or they can just go and traverse the Rideau Canal and return. Members of the Le Boat team arrived at the Trent Port Marina on September 26th with 3 of their 8 vessels that they'll be launching on the Trent Severn Canal this year. On the 26th, they went to Lock 6 in Frankfurt, and on the 27th, they went to Lock 6 in Frankfurt, and on the 28th, they made their way to Campbellford. On their way to the base, which is at Horseshoe Bay, just south of Peterborough. Staff and some councillors had the opportunity to go on and take a tour with them, either to Frankfurt or through to Campbellford. They have located themselves centrally, so guests can traverse up or down the waterway. Quinte West will be an option for guests who choose a much longer rental duration, probably in the period of about 2 weeks. So we'll be working with Le Boat to try to target those people. And once they're well established on the Trent Severn, there may be options for one-way travel as well, which the Trent Port Marina could potentially be a future site. Just an update on the Canada Soccer U15 update. Of course, we've been reporting on this for several years now. But as you know, we'll be hosting the U15 2022 National Toyota Championships from October 9th to 14th in 2024. Our local organizing committee continues to meet monthly, and a small contingent of staff and local organizing committee members traveled to Waterloo Region for 2 days during the 2023 event to witness the logistics of the tournament. Event sponsorship packages are now available, and we're excited to get going on that. And a confidential announcement is anticipated next week that we can't wait to tell you about. Just wanted to give you a little update on some of the other events that we supported this year. This summer, the Great Waterfront Trail Adventure arrived in Quinte West on August 8th, and they departed early on the morning of August 9th. During their stay here, they had an opportunity to participate in rides to Brighton and Frankfurt, as well as check out our waterfront trails and other attractions. Following the unveiling of updated trail maps, as you'll see on the right-hand side, produced by the Waterfront Regeneration Trust, participants were treated to a reception at the Trentport Marina, and after this, many of them descended on restaurants downtown for dinner. 22% of the participants were first time with the Great Waterfront Trail adventure. 67% visited communities for the first time on the route, but 73% said they would revisit one of the communities that they cycled at during the event. 97% recommended the event to families and friends, so that's great statistics. The total estimated economic benefit for communities was $215,000. Average spending by participants was $1,489 per person. 32% spent one night or more in hotels pre or post event for a total of 42 room nights, and we were one of those ones that was at the pre and post. Actually, they actually had to come back to Quinte West to get their vehicles, and so 67% stayed in hotels, with 33% of them camping, and we did have a camping site at the pavilion, the amphitheater, as you can see there. And then the Ontario Baseball Association U14 and U16 Championship took place on Labor Day weekend at 5 regional ball diamonds, including Centennial Park and Quinte West. We supported the OBA tournament by purchasing backpacks for all participants. They had 24 teams with 350 to 400 players from all over Ontario, and of course they took advantage, or we benefited from them using our hotels, and they had 1,000 to 1,500 spectators, 50 to 100 volunteers, and 20 to 40 umpires. Staff have coordinated the installation of winter and holiday decor in the downtowns of Trenton and Frankfurt. You'll notice that the first photo on the left, all of the elements of the decor are represented. We have our new snowflake decor and pole lighting that we purchased this year. We have the shop local winter banners, winter planters on the poles, which is a DBIA project. And we did the decorative troughs again this year along with the DBIA. That was a partnership with them. And our tree lighting has also been improved along Front and Dundas, providing even more light. And as you can see at the picture on the right-hand side, it is a spectacular view driving through downtown this year. The new holiday ornament decor that's just on the top there, we just placed that last Friday and outside of City Hall. And that top, the piece on the top is removable. So this piece can turn into a generic arch that we can use year-round at different events. And finally, I just wanted to comment on the Quinte West Holiday Market that we had this past weekend. And yes, it was cold and wet, but despite the unfavorable weather conditions, there were 8 unique merchandise vendors and 3 food trucks. There was entertainment in the form of live music, storytelling with Mrs. Claus, visits with Santa and alpacas, craft making and cookie decorating, which is a huge hit with the kids. And we had many volunteers from VIQ, Hastings, Prince Edward, which helped lead to the success of the event. Vendors did report excellent sales, and we're very pleased with the attendance. Friday was abysmal, but Saturday there was lots and lots of kids and people out with their dogs, and so we had actually a good day on Saturday. Sunday again was a little wet and rainy. However, a couple of the vendors said they did even better on Sunday than they did on Saturday, so there really is no telling. We also, 3 charities also benefited from the event, with Community Partners for Success collecting items of warmth like scarves, hats, and mittens, as well as profiting from the sale of baked goods. And Community Living Quinte West and the Rotary Club of Trenton facilitated the Santa Secret Shops shed, and so they were very happy with the connections that they made throughout the event as well. I'd now like to turn it over to Rebecca.
Thanks, Jen. Through you, Mr. Chair, picking up where Jen left off. So there's obviously a great degree of overlap between the tourism events that our tourism team supports and then the community events or city-delivered events that our special events team leads or supports. So since we last met, here on the slide is an abbreviated list of some of the highlights that have taken place over the late summer, fall, and early winter, including the busy weekend that we just had that Jen touched on. So Many of these have already been mentioned, including the mosaic mural unveiling. We concluded with the mural unveiling at the end of this year being the 25th anniversary of Quinte West. And so some of the pictures on the side of this slide here include some of the other community events that took place over the summer celebrating that milestone, including movie nights in the parks in all 4 wards, a foam fest, a glow fest, a corn fest. You can see kind of the theme that we built on to celebrate this year. So I'll ask for the next slide, look back on what our year was, recognizing that there's still a couple of events to come in the next 2 slides after this one. I'm pleased to highlight the total number of community events. Those are both city planned and community-led events here in Quinte West this year being 153. I've broken down are our 5 busiest months, also the 5 months with the best weather. No coincidence there. You can see how many community events occurred over the late spring, summer, and early fall. And then I've offered a subdivision of the 153 with 84 being city planned events. So those are events, many of which we've discussed here over the course of the year that are planned directly by staff. Compared then to community-led events at 69, which is still a very notable number. And in total this year of the 153, we had 39 net new community events. So certainly it was a very eventful year, and we look forward and are already planning for 2024. But before we get there, I'll ask for the next slide. We have 2 more events already underway and ready for delivery, the first of which being the Home Holiday Tour. So there is a handout for those who are attending in person today. In front of you, a rack card, double-sided, that profiles the Home Holiday Tour. We are still accepting registrants, participants that live in Quinte West and any of the 4 wards to register their homes or residences as decorated for the holidays to be included in that self-guided tour. We have more information about the event itself online at quintewest.ca/winter activities. And then once the final addresses and map have been produced after the deadline for registration passes on December 8th, we will have an online interactive map where people can download and visit to find out and plan their own self-guided tour through the festive houses between December 15th and December 25th. And then lastly, looking towards early 2024, we have the return of our skate and social with mayor and council. So this is a modern twist on the New Year's levy. It was met with great success and positive feedback from both mayor, council, and the community this past January when we hosted the skate at the Trenton Arena. So we'll be returning to Trenton Arena on January 14th, 2024. I'm just noticing the typo, I apologize. Between 10 a.m. and 12, so this is a free family fun event to bring your skates and your helmet and skate for 2 hours and interact with mayor and council for casual conversation. And we hope to see everyone there. So with that, I conclude today's presentation and welcome any questions or discussion.
Yes, Joanna?
Do all the councillors skate?
That's a question for them.
Yes, I have a couple of questions. I noticed that we had a big group of people from Quebec. Do we have all our signs bilingual everywhere?
No, the answer is no.
No. Is that something we should be looking at? I'm just wondering because we do have a big chunk of people from Quebec coming, and I'm just wondering if that would encourage more. I don't know. It probably would be costly, I'm sure, but I'm just wondering if that's something we should look into.
Yeah, Suzanne?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Joanne, when we're hiring summer students, we always make sure that we hire some of them that are bilingual. And there is a lot of French spoken in the office during the summer, so we usually have at least half of the summer students are bilingual. We have a sign that we put out when there's a bilingual person on staff to make sure that they can be looked after in the language they're most comfortable in. We do find for those times when there isn't a bilingual person on staff that most of them can't speak English.
I was surprised that the museum, they have a lot of people from Quebec coming, so they also make sure that they have someone who speaks French. So that's why I was thinking if we could encourage them to come. I mean, they seem to be traveling, you know. But anyway, that was just a question. Another one is Le Boat. There is another organization, company that's doing houseboats just up the Trent River. Were you aware of them?
Yes, they're H2O, and we have promoted them in our Discovery Guides.
Okay.
They're much more local, like a different type of houseboat. These ones are much larger and can accommodate more people. And this is a company that is all over the world, basically, and have major campaigns and marketing behind them and that kind of thing. But no, H2O is definitely on our radar, and we do, with them being right in our backyard and being stationed up at Lock 1, we're very protective of them and their market share too.
Okay, that's great. Another one is, so you were talking about the adventure trail, and you said that everybody stayed at hotels in the area. Did we have enough rooms for everybody?
Definitely. 66% of them, I think, was what had stayed. I believe there was probably maybe 125 participants in total, so probably like 70 or 80 of them stayed in hotels, but they were likely couples, so maybe about 40 hotel rooms were used, and we had plenty of hotels.
Okay,
but they
good.
stayed in 3 different hotels.
Yeah, because that was an issue that we talked about last time about not having enough hotel rooms, so that doesn't seem to be a problem with, I guess, the new
This was a much smaller group than the one that we're
that you're
than some
doing?
of the other events that we have, but and then some of them camped as well. So
Okay. I also wanted to ask, are we doing anything about the air show this year? Are we involved, the municipality, at all with the air show?
Who wants to field it?
They just presented.
Thank you for the question. I'll take it. So the short answer is yes, certainly we will be involved. I think the nature and the details are still being worked out. We've been in conversation with the planning team from 8 Wing to understand what their logistical and support needs will be, and so are working through some of those preliminary conversations now. We've also been approached by a number of community groups and organizations who also would like to work with the city to plan a series of, I'll call them celebrations, over the course of the year. So we have had preliminary kind of scoping conversations with the 413 Foundation, with the 100 Banners for 100 Years group. And so through council, as some of this is already public, we have proclaimed the celebration, the RCAF 100, and are in the preliminary discussion to plan a parade for April 1st from Centennial Park to City Hall for a flag raising that aligns with that proclamation. So there are a lot of bits and pieces right now that the city is working through to fully support the air show, both coming from the base itself and some of our other community groups.
Yeah, great, because it is the 100th anniversary, so it's a pretty big deal, and I just hadn't heard anything, so I'm glad that we're supporting them in some way, shape or form. And I also wanted to ask, there's a new grant from FedDev available. Are you aware of that?
Yes, through the chair to Joanna. Yes, we did receive information on that, and I did watch a small webinar on that.
Okay.
So we'll be looking into that. It's for tourism-related events and bringing visitors to your community. They're also identifying partnerships. I know that was key as part of the funding as well.
Okay, great. Super.
Yeah. Irene?
Yes, the Trenton Historical Society is planning to do something too for the RCF 100 years. So maybe someone from government should contact them, and maybe we can do something that will really highlight the area as well.
Thank you.
Did you
Is
know
that-
that?
Yep, thank you.
Okay,
Zach?
and then my other point is, can somebody talk about hops on the water? I was there, and I didn't find it very stimulating. In fact, I thought for $25, I would have got something beside a plastic mug. So what was the feedback you received for more people than myself who managed to bring 4 people from Toronto down to the event?
Yes, Rebecca, go ahead.
Thank you. I'll take the question through you, Chair. Thank you for your feedback. Certainly, we've received lots of anecdotal feedback about Hops on the Water. So Hops on the Water took place in the second weekend of October. We did experience a lower than anticipated attendance number this year relative to last year, which was the first year that it returned post-COVID. So this year we saw approximately 1,100 attendees over the course of the day. It is a one-day festival. It is a paid ticketed event. This year we worked with a new ticketing company to utilize an online sales platform. I think that was a great success. We certainly saw, more than 75% of our tickets sold pre-sale, which in my professional experience is quite notable, certainly because weather is always a factor. So this year, the week leading into the weekend of Hops was unfortunately very cold and rainy. The day itself was lovely. I was there for the whole day. Certainly, it could have been a little bit sunnier, but it definitely didn't rain, and it was warm enough to not freeze standing outside. The price, there were a few ticket prices this year. We did pilot the opportunity to introduce some new ticket pricing. Obviously, we all know with inflation and everything else, the cost of everything, and certainly event rentals has skyrocketed. So there was a considerable cost factor to inform the the ticket price point decisions made this year. Generally speaking, I can only speak to those who I spoke with on site, and I did receive overwhelmingly positive feedback, but we're certainly open to all suggestions and opportunities moving forward. The ticket price did include, obviously, your entrance to the festival and a reusable beverage mug that foreseeably people would have used to patronize the beverage vendors on site. And so we are always looking for new programming ideas, new opportunities. We did see both an increased number of beer vendors and food vendors this year, which I take to be a notable opportunity moving forward, that there is lots of interest in the vendors to come out and support us with the continuation of this festival. While I am speaking about Hops, I will just kind of lay the foundation for Hops 2024, and I was having a conversation before this meeting started. The Canada Soccer 2024 tournament is taking place on Thanksgiving weekend in 2024 over what will be October 12th, 13th, and 14th, I think is the specific weekend. And so because Thanksgiving is late, Hops on the Water typically occurs after Thanksgiving, but we get into even more precarious weather, in my opinion. So there will be an internal review and discussion about making sure that certainly Hops on the Water does not compete with the soccer tournament, but that would likely position Hops to be a bit earlier in the season, perhaps late September. We have to look at the rest of our event schedule to find kind of the sweet spot in the availability of weekends, but that is something we're considering for 2024.
Irene, do you have another question or comment?
No, I don't have a question. I personally, for $25, I would have expected something more than a plastic mug. And further to your point about the weather, it was freezing out there. I had windburn when I came home. I kind of thought that maybe, and again, this is another cost factor, if you had those the heaters put up around, it might have been a nicer environment, more ambience in that particular cold area that we sat in, but hey, it's all about money, isn't it? But for $25, trust me, I won't be going back next year.
Zach?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I think it's I think if you kind of position it in the context of kind of an afternoon of fun with the live music, and there's not a lot of options to have, tons of, the beer and drink and food options kind of all condensed and concentrated together, kind of like almost like a, I don't know, a food court for specifically for adults having fun on the weekend. But with the giraffe, some of the programming, there was the mechanical bull the year before, of course, tons of security. the cost of these things are what they are, the live music, bands, and I actually thinking back to 2018, 2017, whatever the first year it was that we had it, I believe that the tickets were $20. So, 20% increase, 25% increase over that time is probably still lagging inflation, or maybe just right about at it. I did want to give a shout out to staff, and I know part of this is Chris's group, Public Works, but the downtown decorations are amazing. I have a note for the special budget meeting tomorrow to mention it, but I can't remember. I've lived here for 15 years now, and I can't remember the downtown ever looking as good during the holiday season. It's really just beautiful at nighttime, and I want to thank everyone for, I have no idea who specifically sourced those particular decorations, but I remember we had a conversation for the capital projects at last year's budget, and it was described as the old ones were falling apart as they were taken down, I think was the wording used, and there was a little bit of debate on that, but I'm glad it ended up staying in, and we can kind of see what the difference in the community when make decisions like that, and kind of prioritize those things, and it's it just makes you want to spend time downtown, which is a win for everyone, so kudos on that.
Yes, Joanna?
So I have two points here. One is, I was wondering who's responsible for going through the strategic plan and the tourism, the economic development strategic plan and the tourism strategic plan. Who looks after that? Meaning, do we take a look at that and go through and make sure that everything's going the way we want, or is that council that does that?
Through the chair to Joanna. So in terms of the city strategic plan, when staff are doing reports to council and committees, we identify there's an area where we need to refer back to the strategic plan and where that falls within that. So there's always a lens on the city strategic plan in all reports that are done through the city and like through to committees. In terms of the tourism development strategy, the tourism staff are always going through that document. I think we've got many notes and stickies at various parts, and even some of the areas like the CIP was for a tourism grants program was one of the recommendations through the tourism strategy. So it's definitely in work plans. We're always identifying through work plans what those strategies look like. At this point, we're looking at doing an economic development strategy. We've been doing business retention expansion surveys and studies and those types of things. So we will be looking at doing an economic development strategy within 2024, 2025 at the latest. But we do have recommendations through through the BRNEs and different studies that we do that come out of recommendations. We're doing a first impressions exchange with the community of Aurelia, now being led through the Trenton DBIA. So again, there'll be recommendations coming out of that as well. So those initiatives then many times lead to different various action items.
Okay, because I know that there's a plan, and I just didn't know, and I went, I went through it briefly. I didn't go through it, but then I was just wondering, because we are on the committee, I don't know whether we should be looking at that and referring back, or that's too much work, or whatever. I don't know. That was just a comment. I just didn't know if we were supposed to be looking at that. And my last one is. The Muskoka chairs were such a good idea, and they were really, really well, received. So I would like to request that the staff put together or come up with a plan that, those great big huge Muskoka chairs that you have sometimes at different places, they're oversized and people sit in them and they take pictures and everything. If we had one like that had maybe the Quinte West, on the back, so every time someone takes a picture, then that goes on their Facebook page, and that's so it'd be a great way of to promote again the Quinte West area, and it would also support the Muskoka Chair theme that we've been running through. So, and I sort of have it on good authority that we could get the chair for nothing. So it would just be a matter of trying to figure out a good place to put it. And I was wondering if we could recommend that.
Sure. Would you like, I don't know who I'm looking at. Yes, Don?
I think Councillor O'Neill has proposed something like that for the marina. Am I correct on that? Anybody?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Councillor Armstrong, that might be the same conversation that Ms. March has had that we could further explore. I certainly don't want to speak on his behalf without him here.
Yeah.
So you could get it at no cost? Is that confirmed?
Yeah, well, yes, he said that he would buy the chair,
Oh.
and he just... Yes, he said that he would purchase a chair, and all we have to do basically is put it somewhere, and maybe get the Quinte, because I think Quinte West or something on the top would be great because it promotes Quinte West. But I thought it was a great idea.
Yeah, Zach?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, that does sound like a interesting idea. I guess it could be a Quinte West logo or possibly the mural idea. There's tons of different, but those are pretty effective. I think tourism and photographable, Instagrammable moments like the photo frames, and that's a huge draw, having those Instagram spots and photo spots. One of the Muskoka chairs were extremely popular, I think, and were spread around very well, and were I think a very, very popular addition to the 25th anniversary celebration. So I suppose kind of harness some of that energy again. One little bit of feedback, I think I noticed in some of the other communities. I asked one of the artists that the art supplies, I think in Coburg, and there was another one that did a similar project. The costs were actually subsidized, which might be something if we can swing that in the future, kind of widen the possibility for artists. But I think it was a very successful program. I certainly support that. Can second it.
Can we move that as an action item then? Joanna moves it and Zach seconds it, that we explore the Muskoka chair and location and getting it, the logo put on it. Is that right? Good. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Okay. Sally, you're in favor, or do you have a question as well or comment? Okay. Thank you. Ed, do you have it? No, everyone's all good? Okay, perfect. So that brings us to resources and updates. So we'll start with Suzanne. Work our way this way.
Through you, Mr. Chair, just wanted to thank the city as being one of our partners on delivering the Trenton Santa Claus Parade this year. That parade, even though the Chamber leads it, and we've been doing it since 1953, so this was our 70th anniversary of bringing the parade to the families of our community. But we don't do it alone. Huge support from Public Works, from the police, from the fire departments, from the service clubs, and of course the businesses. Without the businesses, there wouldn't be floats in the parade. All the dance studios, you know, it really is a great example of what can happen when the community comes together. So we're happy to be the lead on that every year. It is getting more difficult to put on. As Rebecca mentioned, events are expensive, and with the city's need for insurance on every single aspect that moves on city property, becoming very difficult, more and more difficult all the time. But it's been great working with the city staff. We've been able to meet the needs that they had for all that. But just going forward, it is tricky putting on community events, and we're happy to do it. And we've got the home show that we also put on in the spring, which is another community event, which again, we were just looking at some of the costing on that for 2024, and it's a little scary how things are going up. But anyways, the parade was very successful. The weather didn't cooperate. Seems to be a theme with our events this year with the weather. But despite that, we had good crowds downtown, and then just looking forward to 2024, we are going to be hosting the State of the City with Mayor Harrison at the end of January, and that's just a great opportunity for the business community to get a heads up on the event or the activities that the city has planned for 2024, what road works are being done, what other activities might impact their businesses. And I know the city always brings so many of the key staff people there, and I know that the business community really appreciates getting the chance to meet the economic development staff and the planning staff and the other staff from different areas in the city. So those are the two things. And, Jennifer gave the report on tourism. It continues to be the tourism center continues to be that place where people come when they have questions. So, we're not as busy as we were 15 years ago because people check things out online ahead of time. But what we do find is the people that do stop in, it's a lot of older people, seniors who haven't got everything planned and on their phones, and who are still looking for a printed brochure or a printed map or a printed trail guide. That's a lot of the people that are coming in, or people that are just stopping in quite often because they see the visitor signs and they say that there's not that many places now along the 401 that actually have a staffed visitor center anymore. And so they really appreciate being able to come in and just ask questions about the area. So, yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Chris, you're up.
Thank you. Just an update on the kind of the industrial side of economic development from Quinte Economic Development. We're just finalizing our year-end report, so we'll have copies of that to all the committee members and council and partners. That'll be coming up in the next few weeks. And obviously, we're busy with planning for 2024 with our operational plan and our budget, so that's all in the works. But some good stuff happening. We had a good announcement with Doctor's Choice Optical, a manufacturer in Quinte West that expanded to a new location and received some Eastern Ontario Development Fund grant money, allow them to grow some awesome technology and innovation at their new location. Linda and I were there with our MPP Todd Smith to where they made the announcement, and a lot of the other stakeholders that were involved. And great example of different stakeholders like Trenval and the Business Development Bank of Canada and the city and Quinte Economic Development and the province all working together to support a manufacturer. So it was a good announcement, and great to see that business expanding. Our Elevate Plus program is ahead of schedule in terms of training of existing workers. Our funds are getting out the door, so that's working really well. Our latest cohort of job seeker training is going on right now. Graduation will be next week, so all those graduates will be entering the workforce and filling some of those available vacant positions that we have in the manufacturing sector. We're also busy on investment attraction, so we're continuing to get inquiries, and we're working on projects as they go through. Investment, the whole site selection process sometimes takes a while, but there are a number of leads that we're working through right now, in particular with the city of Quinte West, looking at buildings and your available land in the industrial park. We're also excited about the work the city is doing on identifying new areas of growth for the next industrial areas within the city. I think that's fantastic, and as Linda mentioned, there's a meeting next week, so I'm really excited to see that. We do have a lot of inquiries coming in. Sometimes we don't have sites that can accommodate them. They're looking for more land than we actually have available, not only in Quinte West, but in the region. So there's some good opportunities out there that we might be able to be in running for once the city finds that next phase of their industrial area to grow in. Our Quinte Manufacturing Association that we provide the administrative support for had a great event a few weeks ago on additive manufacturing or 3D printing, and we had 3 manufacturers on a panel, including one from Quinte West and Loyalist College, talking to other manufacturers about how to integrate 3D manufacturing into the production processes for prototypes and one-off development of different products. So that was really good. Tomorrow night, we're doing an event for our manufacturers, just an industry appreciation night, a chance for us to say thank you to those manufacturers for the good work they do in our community, the jobs they create, the investment they bring, the taxes they pay. And so that's a kind of a drop in tomorrow. So we got, I think, over 70 some manufacturers and other stakeholders coming out to that one. So that's going to be great. And I'll just wrap it up with saying the air show is certainly on our radar screen too. We've been talking to our partners at Trenval about some sponsorship opportunities. Last time they held the air show, we used it as an investment attraction piece to bring in some of those companies from outside the area to come in and see the area and participate in the air show with a bit of a chalet thing. So we're looking at doing that again this year with Quinte Economic Development, and I know Trenval's looking at something similar. So I think we're gonna have a side-by-side option, Joanna, at that air show. So yeah, the 8-Wing Trenton is the largest employer in the region, and we want to be there to support them and celebrate the success they've had and support the air show. So that's Quinte Economic Development. You'll see our year-end report coming out shortly, and be glad to take any questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, yes, question?
Where are you having the manufacturing event?
That's going to be at the Town Place Suites at the in their meeting space at that event. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I was just curious, Suzanne, when you were talking about the visitor center, is there a sign? I don't know if it should be on the 401 or coming in, or is there a sign that says visitor center?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. It's the signage all off the 401 leading to the visitor center.
Okay, great.
So I believe it's well signed. We've never had anybody complain that they had difficulty finding us. So.
Oh, that's great. I mean, I never noticed it. I mean, I don't know why I haven't noticed it, but I haven't, because that's the first thing I do when I go to a new place is I look for the visitor center. So I think that's great.
Yeah, I think it's done. Thank you.
Both for new and other business. Quick question, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For Chris, this might be a stupid question, but I know obviously you're focusing on the large manufacturers and kind of related businesses. Do you ever dip your toe in for kind of maybe identified needs such as like hotels, kind of out of that sector? Is that something for large kind of private sector companies?
Yeah, you're right, and we do focus on the manufacturing sector, and not only the large ones, but small manufacturers too. So and some people think that, hey, you guys just looked after the large manufacturers. No, it's the small ones too. It could be a small manufacturer with 2 or 3 employees, and they're certainly on our radar screen in terms of investment attraction plus retention. When it comes to kind of the commercial retail development, hotels or other attractions, we try to stay in our lane, and the City of Quinte West is, their team is established and able to handle those. If they had, questions that we can provide some immediate answers to, whether it's demographics or other economic data, we certainly do that. But usually if those come in, it's passed over directly to our partners. But we've had, in the past, we've had manufacturers talk about housing and the need for employee housing. So, that's something we could look at, getting involved in. And we're doing an event with some manufacturers and the Construction Association just to kind of have discussions around what type of housing are your employees looking for. And so we're looking at an event in January. So we get involved in the periphery on that, but typically stay in your lane and let the municipalities handle those other sectors like retail, hotels, and others that are looking to be in specific communities. We're a manufacturer. They're thinking about regional workforce, regional supply chains, and those types of things. Where typically a retailer is going to be looking at a specific community, municipality based on the trade area and the dollars available for spending in those areas.
Are you seeing a lot of logistics investments in our area, logistics companies and those sorts of companies?
Yep, logistics is one of our target sectors right now. So warehousing. So think about in our neighboring community of Belleville, Amazon with a 1.1 million square foot distribution center that's opened up now. Vision Transportation, another third-party logistics provider, has grown over the last year and put up more space. McHale Logistics is putting up new space in the Belleville Northeast Industrial Park, right on Highway 401. You'll see it when you drive by there. So yeah, logistics is certainly part of it. And think about in Quinte West, Trent Cold Storage, McKesson Pharmaceutical, TDL. There's some great logistics companies in this region too. So yeah, it's on our radar screen for investment attraction, but also retention as well.
Thank you.
Okay. New and other business. We'll start. Dunk. Joanna? Ed? No. Zach? Brent? Rosie? No? Shut out? Unless anyone on the screen? No hands are up? Okay. So I appreciate everyone's attendance. I just wanted to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, however you decide to spend it, and a healthy New Year until we meet again. Thank you. And 2 for adjournment.